And it looks like we have Tara here. Hey, welcome, Tara Palmeri. Thank you so much for joining in and being here to talk with me.
Of course. Yeah, it worked out finally.
Yeah, more or less. No, Tara's here. She is an incredible journalist. She has been reporting extensively, not only on Epstein, but his victims. She has been attacked by some of Epstein's close confidants and has a lot of very unique, very profound insights on what's been happening, what can happen next, and what we're expected to see in the next coming weeks and months. So thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Yeah, happy to be here.
Now to kick it off, I want to talk about everyone obviously is very interested to know what is in the Epstein documents. We're now in what feels like a hurry up and wait period where the Department of Justice has 30 days to release anything. Based on what you know about the DOJ and the Trump administration, what do you see the next steps in this process looking like?
Well, obviously there are going to be a lot of people. Although I think the more people that are involved, the more people know if there have been redactions that are unnecessary. So maybe it will be a small group of people who are working round the clock for a month before they release these files. But Bloomberg reported in August when they had when they put in a Freedom of Information request that President Trump's name was already starting to be redacted from those files that were returned back,
Right.
and that they had sources inside of the FBI that told them that. So, not a great sign. This case to me could use an independent counsel, special prosecutor, someone outside of the DOJ that's not Pam Bondi, who said, in February, I'm looking at the Epstein list to now to July. There is no Epstein list. There's no third party perpetrators.
Right.
To wait, there are some. We're reopening the investigation, but only to look into Democrats. So it's like, is this really a trustworthy person with these files? Also, just there are so many large caveats that they could exploit, but we have no
Yeah.
idea if they are.
Yeah, well, and I think you're mentioning the special counsel is a really interesting comparison to the second Trump administration from the first, because there was a much less, I guess, salacious scandal that happened during his first term, with him reaching out to, the president of Ukraine, and all of that turned in, that resulted in a special counsel. He actually did appoint someone, but I mean, what are the odds that he does that this time around?
Oh no, there's no chance. I think he knows he's in his final term. This is not like he's so sensitive about the Epstein files. There's no way he's going to bring more people into this. And he doesn't seem to, he feels like he doesn't seem to feel the gravity of politics right now. He's dealing with an affordability crisis and he's hanging out with all of these dictators like MBS, running around the world trying to win Nobel Peace Prizes. So I don't think he worries as much about getting reelected as as one would expect. So I think he's going to do whatever he wants. And whatever he does impacts his predecessor if they are aligned with him, like J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio. But I mean, his numbers are really starting to crater, especially around the economy, which was partially why he was elected. If not even partially, I would say was probably the number one reason he was elected.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely, and yeah, like you said, it doesn't seem like that's. I mean, he's not known for being honest, and so it's not really a surprise that that's not a priority of his,
Yeah.
or even that he's setting up big businesses to profit while regular people can't afford groceries. Um, but it's not likely that there will be transparency into these Epstein files while Trump and his Department of Justice are in control of it. There are some ways that either the public or Congress can force transparency, though. I think one of the most recent examples is the 20,000 documents that Congress released last week from Epstein's estate, where it's the same messages and everything that are in the Epstein files, but they aren't touched and tainted by the DOJ. Do you think that's maybe a potential avenue that the estate will continue releasing things, and it could be a way to compare and contrast and see what's been taken out.
Yeah, I do. I think, subpoena power is an amazing thing if you are in charge. And so uh, Democrats, I think if they win back the House, they'll have that as well. And they might be able to subpoena Department of Justice, like people who are running the Department of Justice, like Pam Bondi, who from prior testimony, hearings when she's had to testify, she's pretty much stonewalls. But uh, yeah, you can go to the Epstein estate and get the files from them and get not files, but emails and try to put the pieces together. But there's really nothing quite like what would be in the actual files. So I think what people really
Right, right.
do is like, why did he get this sweetheart deal? And I could see the government saying, because there is a caveat for national security and foreign policy, that if Epstein was in fact a source of intelligence, whether to the FBI or to the CIA, that they would say, we can't actually release the files because, or not the files, but like certain files that explain why he got the sweetheart deal.
Yeah, or even I think you've mentioned before that there could be a claim that since Donald Trump is the president, anything that could be damaging against him could be useful to foreign enemies or spies, and so then that would be a national security risk,
Yeah,
and thereby,
Camaron. Yeah.
right, exactly, and thereby preempt anything touching Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that for sure. So, there's a lot of different ways, but ultimately, yes, these are the caveats. But if there's no oversight, then I do think everyone is like sort of afraid of the people that are running the FBI, like Kash Patel, who's giving polygraph tests, and Pam Bondi because of their extreme loyalty to Trump. So I think it's hard to be a whistleblower, but hopefully there are some who will tell us what's going on there and if there is redactions. I mean, obviously Bloomberg had a number of sources that were telling them that they were already redacting Trump's names from the documents.
Yeah, yeah. I've been speaking with a few people from the Oversight Committee about other safeguards they're trying to put in place. Representative Lee from Pennsylvania, she had put in a subpoena for the full unredacted files to be handed directly to the committee. It got bipartisan support, and the subpoena was issued. And so, if that is complied with, and now with the passage of the Epstein Transparency Act, there's a lot more weight behind it. Then the House committee would have the complete unredacted files that they would then be able to take out victims' names and potentially use that once again to compare with the DOJ's redacted version that they put out.
That's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because it's something they've been pushing for a while, and that subpoena has basically been ignored this entire time.
Yeah.
But with the full weight of unanimous -1 support of Congress, I think it gives them a little bit more teeth.
Yeah. Right. I don't know that Republicans are going to really give them much more than what they've already given them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, which doesn't bode too well. And it does look like a lot of Republicans in the broader media ecosphere are already working to provide cover. For every Marjorie Taylor Greene who's doing a 180 and pushing for things to be open, there's people like Megyn Kelly who are more or less trying to normalize an underage sex trafficking ring.
Yeah, that's true. It's quite something to see it all happen. So
yeah,
I don't understand how Megyn Kelly can do that. I think it's just foul, and especially from a woman who accused President Trump of poisoning her before that famous debate. Where he said that there was blood coming out of her eyes.
right.
She accused Roger Ailes of sexual harassment, and it's like she has no sympathy for these people anymore because she's chosen a different allegiance, and that allegiance is Trump, and it's blind allegiance. And I just feel like the hypocrisy is unreal. So it's, yeah, Kitty says she has daughters. One of them is, I think, 14. So
Yeah.
yeah, for me, I created a small short, and it just sort of hit me on a Friday night. I was exhausted, trying to leave my house, trying to finish up all my work. And I was like, wait a minute. I remember listening to the tapes from the girls being interviewed by the Palm Beach detective. And I remember that one of the girls called his penis a wee wee. She was so young. And like
Jeez.
that Courtney Wild was 14 and she had braces on her teeth when she showed up. And I thought, I gotta find the audio. And so we scrambled, my team, to find some audio, and we put together a little stitch to sort of be like, hey, Megyn Kelly, listen to the voices of these girls, because this is what it
Yeah.
sounds like when you're 14 years old. Like, this is the sound. And then I thought it was interesting that the survivors in their video, where they were trying to, like, that they put out right before the vote, they were holding up pictures of themselves when they were the age when they met Jeffrey Epstein. Like, I thought that was really, really touching, because seeing is believing, hearing is believing. And so for a lot of people that want to just discount their pain and what they went through, I think it's really important that they remember that they're human beings that have been broken from this horrible thing that's happened to them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's something that is, no matter how much focus it's too much overlooked, that people in their zealousness to make this a way to score political points, that there are victims who are still being hurt by this. I mean, some of the initial accusers of Donald Trump, even before he was elected the first time around, they withdrew lawsuits and accusations because they were getting death threats. And it's not like they were trying to take him down because they wanted a Republican candidate to lose. They wanted people to know that they were voting for a sexual abuser.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it's just a wild time we're in right now. But I'm really happy that the bill passed, even though it has the word transparency in it, and there's not much transparency. But alas, the
Yeah,
irony of it all.
I mean, if there's one thing Congress is good at, it's giving their bills very ironic names.
Now, Monica Lewinsky said, she tweeted out that they were able to hand over the START report within 48 hours. So,
Jeez.
and they've got a whole month. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and even the Mueller report, that took time for the DOJ at the time, the Attorney General Bill Barr, to go through and redact anything that was damning before they released that. So it's it's very frustrating that they're able to give themselves these wiggle rooms so that they can work around transparency, all while claiming that this is all in the name of transparency.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, and also, they will claim that they reopened the case. So,
Right, right. But I think that's why it's so important that the victims are, one, able to stay at the forefront, one, so that they can receive justice, and two, so that they can correct the narrative, which is a dangerous thing for them, but it's very brave, and I think that at the end of the day, they're the ones who are harmed the most, and I believe that they're the ones who are going to be able to effectively take down and hold accountable the people who have harmed them.
yeah, I agree. I agree with you. We hope so.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I did want to ask about something that you experienced recently with someone who's in the files, but someone
Yeah.
who has poised themselves as being very against Donald Trump, and that's Michael Wolff. Um,
Well, he's in the emails. We don't know if he's in the files, but we know he's in the emails
yes, yeah. To be clear,
that weren't really. We haven't even seen the files. Those are just, yeah, those are just emails from the estate. So who knows? Maybe he's in the files, but he's in the emails. That's for sure.
yeah. No, it seems. I mean, he's in them quite a bit. It seems like they were very close. And what was it that because you've been working on a story that involved him. Um, you want
Well,
to share a little about
yeah,
that?
one of his followers, like, well, first of all, here's what I was reading the New York Times, and I saw Sean Creech's piece on what to make of Jeffrey Epstein's emails and all the men that were continuing to stay in contact with him. And one little nugget in there was that Michael Wolff planned to buy the New York Magazine, very influential magazine in New York, with Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein, um, and Mort Zuckerman, who owned the New York Daily News. They put in a bid together. And I was flabbergasted because I thought to myself, what if Jeffrey Epstein owned New York Magazine? Would he have
Right.
even gone back to jail? Because that's a pretty big deal to be a power broker. Would he be alive today? Harvey Weinstein, too. Would Harvey Weinstein ever have faced justice? Or would he have used that powerful perch as an owner of a magazine to bully any of his enemies or women who would accuse him from coming out? So I was just in shock. And then it also made me think to myself, well, like, Michael, you're interviewing him as a journalist. What are you doing taking his money? That's a hard line in journalism where you don't take
Right.
money. And it was already bad enough that all of these emails came out showing that he was giving a pedophile public relations advice on how to improve his image, saying that he could
Right.
manipulate his relationship with Trump and say he's just a victim of like culture, basically, of cancellation culture. And it's just like it was shocking to me how close they were. But a financial entanglement is even worse.
Yeah.
And I wrote a piece about it. Uh, and then I did some more research, and it was reported by the Neiman Lab at the time that they did, in fact, try to make this bid. It wasn't just the New York Times that
Wow.
reported it. And it was in 2003. And then also, I spoke to some people who were involved in the deal, and they said that Michael was the one who brought Weinstein and Epstein in, and actually,
Wow.
the buyers didn't want the deal because they thought that the people that are involved are too disreputable. Like that's a huge deal. So I mean,
Yeah.
I was just flabbergasted, and I'm also wondering, like, why is he sitting on these tapes still? He says that nobody wants them. Like independent media, like you can just publish everything yourself now. I don't
Right.
believe that nobody wants them either. I just don't think he's gotten the offer that he wants, but that's my personal opinion. I don't know that for a fact, but I've got a feeling that, like, once he gets the right offer, he'll put it out. And, I make a broader point that, like, a portrait artist, which is how I would describe Michael Wolff as a writer, often they're painting pictures of themselves. And a lot of people have said that even in his profile, in his book about Rupert Murdoch, that, he was really very similar to Rupert Murdoch. And even the way he handled me was very Trumpian, like having his lawyer contact me and all. I was just like, wow. So I don't know. Listen, it's not a good look for the business. I would never take money from someone that I was reporting on.
Right.
Um, and I think though, like Michael Wolff fancied himself a media mogul himself. You know what I mean? He wanted to be like Rupert Murdoch, Roger Ailes. He wanted to be like the people that he was covering. That's why he wanted to own the New York Magazine. So I
Well, it, and I think it just really goes to show that at a certain level of wealth and power, that no matter where people present themselves, that they're all very, very similar. I mean, Michael Wolff publicly has positioned himself as being someone who publishes and writes and says very damning things about the Trump administration. But at the end of the day, he just wants to be a wealthy mogul who harasses and bullies people to try and get what he wants.
yeah. Yeah. It was really bizarre too. He like attacked me in a post because I reached out to him when coincidentally, one of his followers reached out to me and said that she felt that she was being groomed by him in private messages, and those were her words, not mine. And I just reached out
Yeah.
with the messages and said, "Are these true? Are these you?" And he said, "They're not me." And I was like, "Okay, fine. I won't write about it." But like,
Yeah.
that wasn't enough for him. He had to like go above and beyond and like have the lawyer call, and like it was just so Trumpian. I was like, I'm not reporting it. I wasn't planning to. If it's not her, I'm not gonna like. I decide what is ready for publication. Like I'm not. I'm really serious about my reputation, and like I would never report anything that wasn't accurate. If you deny it and you say it's not you, and I go back and do additional reporting and I can't verify it, I don't report it. And even
Right. It's
I
basic due
even said to
diligence.
the lawyer contacted me, I'm like, "I've already published the piece, like, I'm not writing about it." Do you know what I mean? It was just to, like it was just to bully me, and I was like, I just got such bad vibes about it. It's kinda gross. And then he put
Yeah.
in hi he wrote about it himself, and I was like, "Michael, it's called journalism. You ask somebody if it's true or not, and then you decide based on your own reporting what the story is."
Right. Well, I mean,
Within
based
10 like,
on
10 within 10 minutes of talking to him, I published, and had nothing and it did not include anything about the allegations. It's just like, he just wanted to and then the lawyer called me hours later. I'm like, "Did you guys even, like, look up
did you?
my work? You're just
Yeah.
doing it to bully me," which is, like,
Right.
very, very Trumpian, and I don't know. It's again, this is, like, a portrait artist who is drawn to men that are probably not that are probably like himself in a lot of ways. So I don't know him personally. So that's you know that's just my observation based on what I've seen and heard from people who know him personally. But I think if he has information on Jeffrey Epstein that he's been sitting on in the form of these tapes, like he should just put them out in the public interest. Because ultimately, like as journalists, our calling is supposed to be for the public interest above all else in
Yeah.
public service. I mean, that's how I look at it. I don't look at it as like this like fun access game to like rich guys who can give you money to become more powerful.
Right. Right. Or you give them advice on how to rehab their image, or
Right.
even what we. I mean, not that he's a journalist, but Steve Bannon, when he was talking with Epstein, a lot of that conversation is, how do I look on TV? How do I present myself? How do I message? And Wolff was doing a lot of that with Epstein as well. Like, hey, here's
Yeah,
how
he
you can
wanted
look
to
better.
rehabilitate himself. He knew he was a sex offender.
Right. Right. Well, and you said the initial bid was in 2003.
Yeah, it was
Is
before he
that
went to prison. But like
Yeah,
everybody,
so I mean, that seems like a very preemptive measure of, I'm doing a lot of really illegal things. Maybe I should find some way to control this narrative before it gets out of hand. And like you said, had he made that purchase, he might not have been arrested the first time. He could be a well-respected media mogul in
right. I
today's world.
also, yeah. I mean, I don't know about well respected, but like, it's also interesting to see in Michael Wolff's unpublished feature about Epstein, which he showed Epstein. Like, you're not supposed to do that as a journalist. You're never supposed to
Right.
show your work before publication.
I was
And he,
just reading through that actually.
yeah, but
Um,
he sort of didn't like refer to the girls as underage. He was sort of like very like in passing. These beautiful girls are hanging out. He didn't see anything wrong with it. I mean, I don't know. It's just very every like from what I know from spending time with Virginia Giuffre and talking to other survivors, like it was pretty clear if you spent any time with Jeffrey Epstein that there was something weird going on there. Old man, young girls, a lot of them naked, hanging around the house, like
right.
it was not something you could look past. So, um, yeah, that's
Yeah.
my just my thoughts. But it's all a part of the power that Epstein craved. Like he wanted power in academia, he wanted power in science, Silicon Valley. He wanted power in tech. He wanted power in politics. He wanted power in every facet of life, including media. And I think he saw Wolf as a conduit to that.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw little glimpses of conduits. He developed a relationship with Lawrence Cross, who was well respected in academia before his sexual harassment allegations. Trump, we see him determining, whether he can buddy up with him again or use him as use blackmail against him, or just invite him to Thanksgiving dinner. Yeah, it seems like there were tentacles, for lack of a better term, just being put in all these different spheres of power and influence.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
well, I know we ran a little late, and now we're running a little late. And I'm sure you got some stories you're working on. So I'll go ahead and wrap it up. But Tara, thank you so much for taking the time to come
Of
and talk with
course.
me, and hopefully we can do this again soon.
Thanks so much.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Bye.
See ya.